maximum. Also die Hoffnung ist da, dass wir uns nicht mehr treffen. Ich glaube, dass ich freue mich ehrlich, dass wir jetzt einen Deal finden. Ist nicht zum ersten Mal. Nicht zum ersten Mal. Aber wie gesagt, jetzt haben wir eine Vereinbarung, glaube ich, wo jetzt Westminster die Entscheidung treffen muss. Und ich bin voller Hoffnung, dass jeder in London auch weiß, dass ein Deal viel besser ist wie ein No-Deal. Es geht ja nicht um Brexit oder nicht Brexit. Es geht um Deal oder No-Deal. Und ein No-Deal ist wirklich eine Lose-Lose-Situation. Ich will jetzt nicht sagen, dass ein Deal eine Win-Win-Situation ist, aber ist besser wie ein No-Deal.
Was macht diesen Deal jetzt
so gut, also so toll ist jetzt nicht, um in die Luft zu springen. Ich habe ja, bei mir war es wichtig, dass wir unser Markt, Binnenmarkt nicht kaputt machen und auch die irländische Frage und Good Friday Agreement respektiert wird. Und das ist jetzt auch der Fall. Das waren meine zwei Bedingungen und ich bin auch froh, dass wir das zurückfinden. Und wir kommen ja positiv hier rein. Vor ein paar Stunden wussten Sie und ich auch nicht, was hier an meiner Ankunft das Resultat sei. Und ich glaube, wir fangen jetzt mal einmal positiv hier auch an. Das ist ja nicht immer der Fall. Pardon? Mais je suis content parce qu'en arrivant à Bruxelles il y a 3-4 heures, c'était pas sûr qu'on ait un accord. Et donc d'avoir un avis positif, c'est quelque chose déjà qui est pas fréquent, qu'on arrive ici, qu'on soit déjà tous d'accord. Du moins celui qui a négocié pour nous et l'autre contrepartie britannique. Maintenant il faut voir ce que Londres va faire, mais on est plein d'espoir parce que le but ici c'est pas de dire si on est pour ou contre le Brexit, c'est de savoir est-ce qu'on a un accord ou pas. Et je crois que même à Londres ils comprennent que pas d'accord c'est pas bon pour eux non plus. Donc j'espère qu'ils vont être raisonnables samedi matin à Londres et qu'ils vont aussi comprendre que c'est dans l'intérêt de tous de dire oui. Voilà. It's not a question now to have a Brexit or not, as I just said before. It's a question: are we going to have a hard Brexit or not? And I think it's really for everyone much better if we agree and that we are able to come here with a positive message from the UK and from our negotiator is already something positive.
And how would you block any further delays to Brexit?
No. Positive.
How about
positive today?
Mr. Ritter, we've come a long way since the empty podium in Luxembourg. What do you think allowed this deal to happen after that rather acrimonious meeting?
I always wanted a deal, and in Luxembourg, also here in Brussels, I was also always one of the person who believed that a deal was possible, and I'm so happy that we are able to have a deal and to start the meeting here with knowing that for the moment we are able to agree is something which is not that common when I come to Brussels. So I'm positive.
Hi, good to see you, and good to see the Prime Minister, my friend Boris Johnson. We have a deal. And this deal means that there is no need for any kind of prolongation. This is a fair, a balanced agreement. It is testament to our commitment to finding solutions. It provides certainty where Brexit creates uncertainty. It protects the rights of our citizens and it protects peace and stability on the island of Ireland. There will be no border on the island of Ireland, and the single market will be protected. The deal is not about us. The deal is about people and peace. And I look forward to continue my conversations with Boris, because we'll start the negotiations on the future relations immediately after the deal will have been approved. We'll start our debates on the 1st of November without interruption. Tonight, together with Michel Barnier, I will explain the deal to the heads of state and government. And of course, it is for both our parliaments to have the final say. It's not only Westminster having to approve the deal being in fact the treaty. It's also up to the European Parliament to do the same. So thank you, Boris, for, I have to say, excellent relations we had throughout the last weeks.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Jean-Claude. And can I pay a particular tribute to you, Jean-Claude, and also, of course, to Michel Barnier and all your team, Michel, in the negotiating team in the Commission. And I do think that this deal represents a very good deal both for the EU and for the UK. And it's a reasonable, fair outcome and reflects the large amount of work that's been undertaken by both sides. And I agree very much, Jean-Claude, with what you said about protecting the peace process in the island of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. And, of course, for us in the UK, it means that we can deliver a real Brexit that achieves our objectives. And it means that the UK leaves whole and entire on October the 31st, and it means that Northern Ireland and every other part of the UK can take part not just in free trade deals, offering our tariffs, exporting our goods around the world, but it also means that we can take together as a single, united kingdom, decisions about our future, about our laws, our borders, our money, and how we want to run the UK. And those decisions will be taken in the UK by elected representatives of the people of the UK. And I hope very much now, speaking of elected representatives, that my fellow MPs in Westminster do now come together to get Brexit done, to get this excellent deal over the line, and to deliver Brexit without any more delay, so that we can focus on the priorities of the British people, improving our health service, investing in 20,000 more police, lifting up the living wage, and many, many other things. And Jean-Claude, I just want to conclude by agreeing wholeheartedly with your final point. Now is the moment for us to get Brexit done, and then together to work on building our future partnership, which I think can be incredibly positive, both for the UK and for the EU. And I just remind you what I always say, that we are a quintessential European country, solid European friends, neighbours and supporters. And we look forward to working with you in building that partnership in the weeks and months to come. Thank you all very much.
Hey!
Jean-Claude's the boss here.
Yeah. I have to say that I'm happy about the deal, but I'm sad about Brexit. Have a time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mina.
certainly no case for delay.
Prime Minister, why do you think this can get through Parliament? Why do you think this can get past MPs?
Prime Minister, why do you think this can get past the MPs? What makes you think the EU people get along with it? Okay, right, I'm going to scour. Keep coming next door.
You can use it. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll just pretend.
Bonne journée.
say I'm positive, but I'm also cautious because now we will see if it's possible for the British Parliament to agree. But it's an important step, and I hope it will give more serenity, more predictability, more stability. It's a positive moment in my opinion.
Can it be done by the 31st of October, the whole process ratified by then?
We will have more information. We'll discuss with the colleagues this afternoon, but it's very important to reach this political agreement and to be sure that it will be possible to agree. Thank you.
Mr. Macron, British TV, please, sir.
Bonne nouvelle, c'est un pas dans la bonne direction, ça permet de donner plus de sérénité, plus de stabilité, ça permettra peut-être de passer à l'étape suivante, la relation future, et nous espérons maintenant que, après, je l'espère, un accord ici au Conseil, le Parlement britannique puisse cette fois marquer son accord pour aller de l'avant. It's a positive moment for Europe and also for the relationship between the European Union and UK. It was important to reach this agreement, but now, of course, we hope that it will be possible in the British Parliament also to give an agreement.
Do you rule out a further extension?
We will see what are the technical necessities, but it's very important to give the signal that we have protected the integrity of the single market, and it's also important to see what will be the position of the British Parliament.
And for a second referendum?
Est une proposition raisonnable et équilibrée.
C'est un pas en avant dans la bonne direction et j'espère que le Parlement britannique pourra également soutenir cette proposition. Nous avons tout au long des dernières heures suivi de près en contact avec les négociateurs, avec les équipes de Michel Barnier, les avancées. On a vu les derniers jours que cela bougeait dans la bonne direction. Il est certain que le diable est dans les détails, donc on va continuer à regarder les différents documents, les différents textes, voir la formulation juridique qui est présentée. Mais à ce stade, le sentiment qui domine est plutôt un sentiment positif, un sentiment de satisfaction, mais aussi un sentiment réaliste et de prudence basé sur l'expérience, parce que ce n'est pas la première fois que le Conseil européen valide un projet d'accord. Il faudra aussi que le Parlement britannique puisse valider cet accord.
L'Union européenne a obtenu les garanties qu'elle souhaitait.
Sur base des informations dont nous disposons et sur base du travail qui a été mené les dernières heures, on a effectivement le sentiment que la protection de l'intégrité du marché intérieur est au rendez-vous. On a effectivement l'impression que cette exigence d'avoir une compétition qui soit loyale à l'avenir entre différentes entreprises en Europe et en dehors de l'Europe est également au rendez-vous. Mais nous allons évidemment continuer à regarder les différents documents tout au long du processus qui va se poursuivre.
C'est un meilleur accord que celui qui avait été signé avec Mme May?
En tout cas, c'est un accord qui, sur base de mon interprétation, donne les mêmes garanties avec quelques adaptations, mais avec les mêmes garanties en termes de protection du marché intérieur. On a toujours considéré qu'il était essentiel pour l'avenir de l'Union européenne, pour l'avenir des emplois, de l'innovation, notre capacité à relever tous les défis auxquels nous faisons face, qu'il y ait un marché intérieur qui soit protégé, qu'il n'y ait pas la capacité de mettre en péril son intégrité, et les garanties qui sont sur la table sont effectivement être convaincantes.
Vous pensez qu'on pourra y arriver d'ici le 31 octobre?
Nous allons voir maintenant avec Michel Barnier, avec la Commission européenne, quelle analyse font-ils maintenant du déploiement juridique, puisqu'il y a des étapes juridiques qui vont devoir être concrétisées également, et on aura plus d'informations. Mais le message important, c'est que aujourd'hui, un pas en avant est fait. Aujourd'hui, il y a un moment d'optimisme, d'espoir. Ça fait 3 ans que le choix britannique est intervenu, ça fait 3 ans que les négociations sont difficiles. Encore une fois, optimisme, sentiment positif, mais je n'oublie pas, ce n'est pas un détail, que le Parlement britannique doit encore marquer son feu vert sur les propositions sur la table.
Un veto expulsif, vous pensez?
Just first of all, this morning had a chance to meet with my EPP colleagues and discuss the council today. had a meeting there briefly with the Nordic and Baltic group. As things stand, we have a draft agreement between the European Union on the one hand and the British government on the other. I think it's a good agreement. It allows the United Kingdom to leave the European Union in an orderly fashion with a transition period, which is very important for businesses and citizens across the European Union and also in the UK, and also creates a unique solution for Northern Ireland, recognising the unique history and geography of Northern Ireland, one which ensures that there is no hard border between north and south, one which allows the all-island economy to continue to develop, and one which protects the European single market and our place in it. So I'll be in a position to recommend to the European Council today that the agreement be endorsed by the European Council and the joint political declaration, the future relationship, be accepted. Back in Dublin, the Cabinet is being convened under the chairmanship of the Taoiseach just to seek their agreement to that approach, and that'll be happening this afternoon.
The UK don't agree with you, Taoiseach. Could they scupper the deal?
You know, I don't really want to comment on a position being taken by any political party, but obviously this now does go to the House of Commons, and they will consider the matter on Saturday, and I think we should give them the time and space to make a decision for themselves as to what they believe is the right thing for the United Kingdom.
You've made very significant concessions, Taoiseach, on a timescale, on a unilateral exit, on consent. What's your rationale for that?
I want there to be a deal. I want there to be a deal that allows the UK to leave in an orderly fashion. Obviously, I regret that they are leaving, but we accept that they are leaving. But also want to ensure that our objectives are achieved, and that is to avoid a hard border between north and south, to allow the all-island economy to continue to develop, to protect the Good Friday Agreement, the single market, and our position in it. And as I always said, we would work until the last moment to secure an agreement. We have an agreement today. I think it's a good agreement for Northern Ireland and for Ireland, and also for the wider European Union. I'll be recommending to the European Council today that we endorse that, and hopefully the House of Commons will be able to decide to support it as well at the weekend.
Taoiseach, the British government are saying that the backstop has been abolished. Is that your understanding of what's happened?
Yeah, well, the backstop has been replaced. It's been replaced with a new solution, a unique solution for Northern Ireland, recognising its unique history and geography. But that new solution does what we needed to do. Avoids a hard border between north and south, protects the all-island economy, protects the single market and our place in it, and also, crucially, and we were happy to accept this, takes account of the democratic wishes of the people of Northern Ireland, because we've always expressed the view and said that we would never seek to hold Northern Ireland in an arrangement long-term against the will of the majority of people there.
And at the end of a 2-year cooling-off period, if Stormont opts out of these arrangements, what happens?
Well, I think we're a long way from that, and those are the hypotheticals. But as I said, one thing we were prepared to accept in order to get to this point, to get to a revised withdrawal agreement, was that we would respect the views of the majority of people in Northern Ireland as expressed in the Northern Ireland Assembly.
Do you think that the UK will leave?
Can the DUP be won around, do you think? And if not, do you think, or have you had any assurances that Boris Johnson has the numbers to get this through Parliament?
I think really that's over to the Prime Minister at this stage. House of Commons is going to meet on Saturday, and I think really the best thing that we can do in Ireland as Irish politicians is really not to intervene or interfere in UK internal politics. It's up to the members of the House of Commons now to decide whether they want a deal. They voted down the last deal on 3 occasions. This deal is now revised, and it's for them to decide whether they're willing to accept it.
Do you think the UK will leave on the 31st of October?
That's again a matter for the Parliament, for the House of Commons.
Which idea was this compromise? It came about after you met Prime Minister Johnson in Liverpool. Whose idea was it?
Well, I think it's always the case that a compromise never has one father. We were all involved in making these compromises. Prime Minister Johnson, the Irish government, and of course the European Union as well.
Do you think the EU should rule out a further extension for the UK if Parliament declines to ratify this agreement?
Well, as of now, we've no requests for an extension, so I'll talk about that later. If and when a request is received, we can consider it, but not until before then.
There's been a briefing that this is going to be billed as this deal or no deal in the UK. Are they the only two options?
Again, really, that's going to be a decision for the House of Commons on Saturday. We've worked really hard over the last couple of years to secure a deal. We regret the fact that the UK is leaving. We do respect that. We know they want to leave with a deal. We want there to be a deal too, but particularly one that protects our interests. And we have that now. Unfortunately, the House of Commons wasn't able to vote for the last deal. I do hope they will be able to vote for this one, but that is ultimately a decision for them, not for us.
John
How
Downing?
would you define the trigger within the last few hours that really made an agreement possible?
Sorry, in the last 3 hours?
How would, yeah. To have the deal.
I'm not sure if there's anything really crucial in the last 3 hours. There was obviously a rather technical matter around VAT that had to be resolved. But I think what happened really over the past week or so was the Irish government coming together with the British government and also with the European Union's task force and, trying to get around some of the issues that had become problematic. And we have now in this revised withdrawal agreement a democracy clause that ensures that the will of the people of Northern Ireland is respected and that if they want to come out of alignment with the EU at some point, they're enabled to do so. And also, as well as that, a unique customs arrangement for Northern Ireland, which I think can work for all of our economies.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
His chances of getting this through.
Für die Europäische Union. Es stehen wichtige Entscheidungen an. Ich nenne nur drei. Das eine Brexit, das andere die Erweiterung, das dritte die Türkei. Zu Brexit, es ist gelungen, soweit
It's good for the economy on both sides, and as we want a good future relationship, it's better to have an orderly Brexit than a hard Brexit. So, and therefore, there's a second point that is important. It keeps peace on the island of Ireland, and so this is a deal where I hope it's going to have the approval.
Is it going to be done by the 31st of October?
An extension. Mr. Johnson will ask the EU leaders to rule out an extension. Would you go along with that?
Sure. Thank you.
Dobro. Jesmo, odlično smo.
Dakle, novost, Brexit je dogovoren. Kakav je dogovor, što to znači za Europsku uniju, što to znači za Veliku Britaniju?
Evo, upravo smo na sastanku na vrhu Europske pučke stranke imali briefing Michela Barniera, glavnog pregovarača. Prema onome što smo mogli čuti, pronađe jedno specifično rješenje koje nalazi kompromis kojim bi mogli, tako da kažem, živjeti i Irska, Ujedinjena Kraljevina sa načinom kontrole koji ne bi remetio koncept jedinstvenog tržišta.
Oltre alla moratoria sulle armi alla Turchia prevedete anche sanzioni, qualche misura più efficace? Sappiamo che le armi la Turchia le ha già.
Ho avuto un lungo colloquio telefonico con il Presidente Erdogan prima di partire da Roma, oltre un'ora. Ho ribadito il fermo, risoluto invito da parte dell'Italia a interrompere, a evitare questa iniziativa militare, quindi gli ho chiesto di ritirare le truppe, di farle rientrare sul territorio turco. Non riteniamo che questa sia la soluzione, questa è un'iniziativa che rischia di destabilizzare ancora di più un territorio e una comunità già lungamente provata. Lo dimostrano anche i primi dati, i primi risultati che sta producendo sul terreno. Abbiamo un alto numero di sfollati, ulteriori sofferenze ai curdi, al popolo siriano in generale, e c'è il rischio, sono stati liberati anche dei terroristi dai centri di detenzione, ed è quello che temevamo. Quindi da questo punto di vista l'Italia è disponibile, ovviamente adesso entrerò nel Consiglio europeo e ragioneremo con tutti gli altri leader ad adottare e a valutare tutte le iniziative utili per raggiungere e per perseguire un processo che deve essere politico, pacifico, senza opzioni militari.
Presidente, Imai ha detto che la manovra verrà approvata lunedì in Consiglio dei Ministri, dunque la partita è ancora aperta?
No, la manovra è stata approvata salvo intese. E quindi sicuramente ci sono ancora degli aspetti su cui possiamo ragionare, eccetera.
Hallo. Wir haben einen Deal, sodass wir eine Sorge weniger haben. Ich bin zufrieden darüber, dass wir einen Deal haben, aber ich bin traurig darüber, dass Großbritannien aus der Europäischen Union ausscheidet. Dies ist kein Freudentag. Dies ist eine geordnete Scheidung. Es gibt keine glücklichen Scheidungen.
Ist der Deal besser für Großbritannien oder besser für die?
So lese ich das alles nicht. Ich finde, dass jeder sich in diesem Deal, der Deal ist ein Vertrag, kein Deal, zurückfindet. Bin happy, ich bin zufrieden mit dem, was wir da zusammengebracht haben. Das hat lange Nächte gedauert, aber jetzt steht der Deal.
Gibt es jetzt auch keinen schwarzen Peter mehr? Gibt es einen kleinen,
Ich bin sowieso ein Schwarzer.
Werden Sie Boris Johnson nach Garantien fragen, wie er das durch das Haus bekommt?
Nein, ich habe eben ein längeres Gespräch mit Boris Johnson im Berlaymont gehabt. Er ist davon überzeugt, dass er diesen Vertrag der Zustimmung der Parlamentarischen zuführen wird. Und das ist auch nicht so sehr mein Ding. Das ist sein Ding, um das durchs Parlament zu bringen.
Wenn Türkei seine militärische Operation nicht stoppt, was kann EU machen? Was ist dann?
Ja, die EU hat ihre Position deutlich gemacht. Wir sind gegen diesen militärischen Übergriff. Es gibt dafür keinen wirklichen Grund. Und wir hätten gerne, dass die Türkei ihre Aktion so schnell wie möglich anschaut. Bitte?
What happens if this doesn't pass through Parliament?
But I'm not in charge of the parliamentary ratification in Britain. That's the job of Boris.
Do you believe that it will?
I hope it will. I'm convinced it will. But it has to.
It has to, but if it doesn't?
Anyway, there will be no prolongation.
There will be no prolongation, no delay.
Could there be an extension, Mr. Minister?
We have concluded the deal, and so there is not an argument for further delay. It has to be done now.
And are you sure that the Singapore-on-Thames view of Brexit will not happen because of the level playing field provisions in the political declaration?
We have a deal. The British PM has to make sure that the deal will pass the hurdles of Westminster. I will have to make sure that it will pass the hurdles of the European Parliament. That's all.
What about the Northern Irish Assembly?
Yeah, hi. Sky News, my favourite channel.
Mine too.
Yeah.
You told us a couple of weeks ago we could get a deal, and here we are. You must be delighted, aren't you?
I'm satisfied that it was possible to conclude a deal, but I'm not happy about the fact that Britain is leaving the European Union. So I'm happy with the result of the deal, but I'm not happy with the final result.
And President Juncker, if Boris Johnson today asks you to rule out an extension to Brexit, he wants it done by October the 31st, will you rule that out and say it has to be October the 31st?
I gave a brief doorstep with Boris Johnson at the Parliament half an hour ago, and I was ruling out that there will be any kind of prolongation. If we have a deal, we have a deal, and there is no need for prolongation. That's not only the British view, that's my view too.
So we're going to leave on October.
Are you confident it'll get through Parliament?
Pardon?
Are you confident it'll get through Parliament?
But I'm not in charge of parliamentary affairs of Britain.
But what
Are you happy it's nearly over?
Pardon?
Are you happy it's nearly over?
I'm satisfied that we were able to find a deal, but I'm sad about the fact that Britain is leaving the European Union. That's not good news. The good news is we have a deal. The bad news is that Britain will leave the European Union.
And it can be done by the 31st?
What did the Prime Minister tell you just half an hour ago?
Nothing special. I had him on the phone this morning several times in order to make the deal, and he and myself, we don't think that it's possible to give another prorogation. There will be no other prorogation. I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
There will be no other prorogation. You are saying?
Are you going to rule out an extension?
That's what I was saying.
So you're actually going to say officially that you will rule out an extension to Article 50?
We have a deal, so why should we have a prorogation?
But what if UK Parliament votes against?
I am not in charge of Westminster.
Okay, thank you.
Wenn du einen neuen Deal, die EU hat immer gesagt, wir machen den allen nicht mehr auf. Und das aber aufgemacht, die Passagen umformuliert gehen. Das klingt, die nordirische Solution, die klingt ein bisschen kompliziert. Wie realistisch ist das?
Die ist an dem Sinn realistisch, dass man natürlich die nordirische Grenze nicht gemacht haben, wo man die irische Regierung nicht aufgestanden gewesen ist. Der irische Premier hat großen Schritt an die Direktion von Großbritannien gemacht. Aber an dem, wo man aufgestanden ist, dann gibt es kein direkter Ursache, dass die anderen Europäer nicht so noch aufgestanden sind.
Wir verlassen also ein bisschen noch Briten, dass die auch die Sache kontrollieren. Gib mal hin, du nicht auch ein bisschen zu viel an die Hand, oder?
Nö, das sind Leute, die sich eigentlich nicht nur den Buchstaben vom Gesetz haben, sondern auch den Sinn vom Gesetz haben. Ich bin überzeugt davon, dass die Kontrolle korrekt gemacht wird.
Die EU hat immer gesagt, den Deal gibt nicht mehr abgemacht gehen, und lo ist es aber gemacht gehen. Und die EU hat auch immer gesagt, wir brauchen Garantien, sonst machen wir nicht einen neuen Deal. Lo gibt aber keine Garantien, als UK, dass die noch wirklich durchgeht, den Deal,
ja,
oder?
Also, wir leben in einer parlamentarischen Demokratie. Kein Regierungschef kann einfach versprechen, dass ein Parlament automatisch das macht, was den aufmischt. Wir leben also so, dass international, dass Regierungen mal mehr verhandeln, dann muss jeder auf seiner Seite probieren, das wird aufgemacht, dass durch sein Parlament zu bringen, mehr am Europäischen Parlament, Herr Johnson am britischen Parlament. Und das wird das amtliche Uhren noch machen oder probieren.
Herr Juncker, Boris Johnson hat ein Gemont gemacht, und das ist die kein Delay.
Das ist eine Evidenz. Ich habe in einer Pressekonferenz gesagt, am Berlaymont, mit Herrn Johnson, dass ich dagegen bin, dass einen weiteren Delay angefragt hat. Nun eine Aufmachung, die muss durchgesetzt.
One question
for Russian media, please. One question. Do you support this deal?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tag. Wir werden unseren Europäischen Rat abhalten und sicherlich ist die Nachricht des Tages heute, dass es gelungen ist, ein Abkommen abzuschließen zwischen der britischen Regierung und der Europäischen Kommission. Wir prüfen das jetzt im Augenblick gerade und werden uns unsere Meinung bilden, aber natürlich kennen wir auch weite Teile dieses Abkommens schon und insofern sage ich, das ist eine gute Nachricht. Natürlich müssen jetzt noch die Parlamente, das heißt das Europäische Parlament und das britische Parlament, zustimmen. Aber vorbehaltlich dieser Zustimmung können wir sagen, dass hier ein Abkommen ausgehandelt wurde, was in einer extrem schwierigen Situation doch die Möglichkeit eröffnet, die Integrität des Binnenmarktes zu erhalten, gleichzeitig zum Good Friday Agreement zu stehen. Und dass der irische Premierminister hier auch ganz zufrieden ist, ist für mich ein ganz wichtiges Zeichen. Ich möchte Michel Barnier und Jean-Claude Juncker danken und auch den Teams, denn da steckt nun jahrelange Arbeit dahinter. Und deshalb haben wir gezeigt, dass die 27 zusammenbleiben. Und jetzt prüfen wir das in Deutschland, aber ich bin ganz optimistisch gestimmt. Herzlichen Dank.
C'était très sympa. Bonjour, messieurs, dames. Vous allez bien?
Bonjour, nous nous retrouvons pour un nouveau Conseil européen avec en effet une bonne nouvelle ces dernières heures annoncée par Jean-Claude Juncker et Boris Johnson sur un accord donc, qui a été trouvé entre l'Union européenne et le Royaume-Uni. Je pense que c'est une bonne nouvelle et cet accord répond aux objectifs qui étaient collectivement les nôtres, côté européen évidemment de défendre l'intégrité du marché unique, nos libertés et l'avenir, et du côté britannique d'avoir justement toutes les garanties pour préserver leur propre intégrité, avec un souhait aussi, aux côtés de nos amis irlandais, qui était de préserver les équilibres politiques. Cet accord donc apparaît aujourd'hui comme un bon compromis qui permet de répondre à tous ces objectifs. Maintenant, nous allons en discuter dans un instant. Il sera présenté par notre négociateur, Michel Barnier. Je veux aussi avoir un mot à l'égard de ce dernier pour le remercier, lui et ses équipes, du travail de très grande qualité qui a été fait depuis le début. Et ensuite, il y aura un processus de ratification qui doit se faire au Parlement britannique puis au Parlement européen. C'est aussi pour cela que la satisfaction qui est la nôtre s'accompagne d'une légitime prudence, parce que, instruits par l'histoire, nous savons aussi que les parlements peuvent finalement ne pas se retrouver dans l'accord. Je veux croire que le Premier ministre Johnson aura une majorité pour soutenir cet accord âprement discuté durant ces dernières semaines. Alors, je vais venir ensuite au sujet géopolitique. Alors, je ne vais pas faire ici de politique fiction. Tout ça montre qu'il y avait un très gros travail. Tout ça montre aussi la nécessité qu'il y avait de fixer un délai, une limite. Je vous l'avais dit au printemps dernier, la France, peut-être parfois nous a-t-on reproché d'être d'ailleurs un peu trop dur sur ce sujet ou esselé, mais il faut parfois assumer de l'être. La France avait très clairement dit au printemps dernier que nous ne devions pas poursuivre cette discussion après la fin octobre, c'est-à-dire jusqu'à l'arrivée d'une nouvelle commission, d'une nouvelle équipe et de la préparation de l'avenir. Et c'est pour ça, à mes yeux, la conclusion de cet accord, avec toutes les réserves d'usage, est une bonne nouvelle parce qu'elle permet ensuite d'aborder une nouvelle phase des discussions européennes qui vont nous permettre donc de parler d'avenir. Ce qui a permis de débloquer les choses, c'est, je crois, la bonne volonté collective. C'est le fait qu'on a gardé nos objectifs politiques, on a trouvé d'autres modalités techniques qui répondent au blocage qui était apparu, en particulier au Parlement britannique. Maintenant, voyons ce que les prochaines heures, les prochains jours nous diront, et on fera tout pour que les choses puissent aboutir. Ce Conseil, donc, vient acter de ce calendrier que nous avions décidé d'avoir. Ensuite, il va nous permettre aussi d'aborder l'avenir. Et tout particulièrement d'avoir une première discussion sur les perspectives financières et une discussion importante sur l'agenda stratégique. Ce qui pour moi est un élément important. La Commission, la présidente élue de la Commission va présenter en particulier demain matin les grandes lignes de son agenda pour les prochaines années. Nous nous retrouvons très profondément derrière celles-ci. Elles sont largement celles que j'ai pu défendre depuis le début de cette année et parfois avant. Un agenda climatique avant tout qui est très important. Neutralité carbone 2050, rehaussement du prix minimum du CO2, taxation carbone aux frontières, développement d'une grande banque climat, un agenda numérique et de développement de celui-ci, un agenda de protection pour les travailleurs en Europe et pour l'intégrité de notre marché, un agenda d'innovation, d'avenir, un agenda aussi de souveraineté avec une Europe de la défense qui doit être plus forte. Ça n'est là pas exhaustif, mais c'est cet agenda d'avenir dont nous discuterons et qui est absolument essentiel. Évidemment, nous parlerons aussi des sujets géopolitiques et tout particulièrement de l'attaque menée par la Turquie en nord-est syrien. Sur ce point, je souhaite que nous puissions à nouveau avoir un langage uni, très clair et très ferme pour condamner cette attaque, tous ensemble stopper tout export d'armement à l'égard des Turcs et pour, avec nos principaux partenaires, mettre fin à cette offensive qui aujourd'hui crée un vrai drame humanitaire et court le risque de faire ressurgir Daesh. Voilà, on va essayer de régler les questions du passé, on va préparer l'avenir et répondre aux défis présents. Merci à vous.
I think on the one hand we have very sad moment today, but on the other hand historical as well. I really hope that today we will find the solution about the Brexit, and I still have the same opinion what I had during this Brexit period, that Brexit with deal is 100 times more better than without the deal. The next aspect will be today MFF. Estonia, we cannot accept this proposal to see less Europe. We would like to see much more stronger Europe next 7 years. It means much more stronger Europe in different aspects, in research and development, in digital, but also in agriculture. About enlargement policy, we will strongly supportive about North Macedonia and Albania to give them this perspective, and the very hard and difficult situation in Syria. I really hope and I think that there is only one way to find the solution. It's political and diplomatic solutions. Thank you.
Do you think this deal will get through the British Parliament?
Ma hoian kahte mikrofoni siin, et kui rahul te olete selle Brexiti leppega, kuhu tänaseks jõuti?
Igal juhul lepe on kordades parem, nagu ma ütlesin ka just rahvusvahelisele meediale, 100 korda parem kui leppeta Brexit, nii et ma arvan, et see ajalooline hetk ühelt poolt, mis on võimalus, on momentum, aga on ka see kurb hetk, sest et kui üks liikmesriik
certainly interested in resolve some of the issues. In New York. Yes, see you later. Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much.
Presidente, oltre alla moratoria sulle armi, alla Turchia prevedete anche sanzioni, qualche misura più efficace? Sappiamo che le armi la Turchia le ha già.
Ho avuto un lungo colloquio telefonico con il Presidente Erdogan prima di partire da Roma, oltre un'ora. Ho ribadito il fermo, risoluto invito da parte dell'Italia a interrompere, a evitare questa iniziativa militare, quindi gli ho chiesto di ritirare le truppe, di farle rientrare sul territorio turco. Non riteniamo che questa sia la soluzione, questa è un'iniziativa che rischia di destabilizzare ancora di più un territorio e una comunità già lungamente provata. Lo dimostrano anche i primi dati, i primi risultati che sta producendo sul terreno. Abbiamo un alto numero di sfollati, ulteriori sofferenze ai curdi, al popolo siriano in generale, e c'è il rischio, sono stati liberati anche dei terroristi dai centri di detenzione, ed è quello che temevamo. Quindi da questo punto di vista l'Italia è disponibile, ovviamente adesso entrerò nel Consiglio europeo e ragioneremo con tutti gli altri leader ad adottare e a valutare tutte le iniziative utili per raggiungere e per perseguire un processo che deve essere politico, pacifico, senza opzioni militari.
Presidente, ha detto che la manovra verrà approvata lunedì in Consiglio dei Ministri, dunque la partita è ancora aperta?
No, la manovra è stata approvata salvo intese e quindi sicuramente ci sono ancora degli aspetti su cui possiamo ragionare eccetera. Lunedì è previsto un Consiglio dei Ministri, ma stiamo lavorando a un decreto legge sul terremoto, perché come da mia premura iniziale all'inizio di questa esperienza di governo l'ho dichiarato, ho incontrato anche i rappresentanti delle comunità dei terremotati e ho detto subito, ho raccolto ulteriori istanze, dobbiamo accelerare le procedure di ricostruzione, dobbiamo intervenire ancora sul piano normativo perché alcune cose ancora non funzionano. Avevo dato la mia disponibilità, stiamo lavorando e confido che già lunedì potremo avere un decreto legge sul terremoto che possa completare il piano di interventi già fatti per le comunità terremotate che hanno subito gli effetti del terremoto.
Presidente, cosa risponde a chi le dice che ci sono nuove tasse in questa manovra?
Guardate, dire che con questa manovra ci sono nuove tasse e quindi aumentino le tasse assolutamente non è corretto. Dovete considerare che se non fossimo intervenuti avremmo avuto una pressione all'incirca del 42,7, invece adesso questa pressione complessiva rimane al 42 se non meno, quindi nessun aumento delle tasse. Tant'è, ripeto, che la pressione fiscale complessiva rimane assolutamente contenuta e si riduce rispetto a quelle che erano le previsioni. Quando fate questi ragionamenti, ho letto qualche giornale che fa questa ricostruzione, è completamente sbagliata e vi spiego anche perché. Perché non si può dire che aumentino per 10 miliardi le tasse. Innanzitutto in quei 10 miliardi vengono calcolati 3,6 miliardi che sono il recupero dalle frodi. Chi evade e quindi chi fa una frode fiscale, quella non è che andiamo, se recuperiamo quelle somme possiamo dire che sono tasse. Anzi, la manovra nel complesso, attenzione, ha un effetto redistributivo molto significativo a beneficio dei lavoratori, taglio del cuneo, a beneficio delle famiglie, più soldi per le famiglie, soprattutto con figli, quindi con famiglie numerose, e anche per le imprese confermiamo un quadro robusto di interventi Industria 4.0 con ulteriori incrementi. Quello che facciamo è creare un aggravio selettivo per alcuni settori di attività, ma questo è in linea con la politica che persegue questo governo. Il governo, abbiamo parlato di svolta, di riorientamento del sistema produttivo verso un'Italia più verde, più pulita, di qui allora un aggravio che va a pesare sulle aziende che producono imballaggi di plastica, che producono prodotti altamente inquinanti, si incrementa anche per quanto riguarda i tabacchi, per quanto riguarda le vincite alle slot machine, anche la cosiddetta sugar tax, ma sono soltanto le bevande altamente zuccherate, quindi sono interventi selettivi, ma la redistribuzione interna avvantaggia lavoratori, famiglie e attenzione, voglio dare anche un chiarimento. Le piccole partite, i lavoratori, gli autonomi, i commercianti, idraulici, chiunque, piccoli professionisti, giovani, conservano una tassazione, un'aliquota fino a 65.000 euro, lo dobbiamo tenere conto a beneficio di tutti gli italiani perché siamo una comunità, bisogna conservare coesione. Fino a 65.000 euro loro continueranno a pagare le tasse al 15%, è un grande costo per lo Stato. L'abbiamo mantenuto perché è una riforma che abbiamo già fatto e non volevamo indietreggiare. E non è vero che li penalizziamo nell'utilizzo del contante, perché è vero che abbiamo messo il limite da 3.000 a 2.000. 2.000 sapete che significa? Avere dei rotoli da 2.000 in tasca, andare e poter pagare su una singola transazione commerciale, non ci vedo nessuna cosa grave. Noi non penalizziamo l'utilizzo del contante, domani mattina chi vuole utilizzare il contante continua a utilizzarlo da 3.000 a 2.000, però incentiviamo l'utilizzo della moneta elettronica, dei pagamenti digitali. Chi si conformerà a questo, come avviene in molti altri paesi, avrà dei vantaggi, punto. Grazie.
One question from Russian media. One question from Russia. When sanctions against Russia could be stopped?
Scusate.
Non si
Se ci saranno richiesti chiarimenti daremo tutti i chiarimenti, siamo molto sereni e sicuri. Grazie.
Sorry, one question from Russia, one question.
Audio check.
Check, check, check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thumbs up.
That's the pool. That's the pool? Why aren't you plugged in there? There's a bolt back there. They're saying it's a pool, they should plug into the vault. Why are they plugged? They should be plugging into the vault. It doesn't sound right. You're saying it doesn't sound right. Hey, Jay? I'll do an audio test. Yeah. We don't put anything up there until we don't put anything on there. That's why we use the all right, we'll do an audio check. Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio check. Ankara, Turkey. Audio check. How are we doing back there? Audio check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Audio check. We good? The gentleman that brought the lav, have you plugged in yet? Yeah, much better, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary of State of the United States, Michael Pompeo, and Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
One week ago, Turkish forces crossed into Syria. Earlier this week, President Trump took decisive action to call on Turkish forces to stand down, to end the violence, to agree to negotiations. And today, I'm proud to report, thanks to the strong leadership of President Donald Trump and the strong relationship between President Erdogan and Turkey and the United States of America, that today the United States and Turkey have agreed to a ceasefire in Syria. The Turkish side will pause Operation Peace Spring in order to allow for the withdrawal of YPG forces from the safe zone for 120 hours. All military operations under Operation Peace Spring will be paused, and Operation Peace Spring will be halted entirely on completion of the withdrawal. Our administration has already been in contact with Syrian Defense Forces, and we have already begun to facilitate their safe withdrawal from the nearly 20-mile wide safe zone area south of the Turkish border in Syria. Let me say this also includes an agreement by Turkey to engage in no military action against the community of Kobani. And in addition, the United States and Turkey have both mutually committed to a peaceful resolution and future for the safe zone, working on an international basis to ensure that peace and security defines this border region of Syria. In addition to the settlement today with the ceasefire, Turkey and the United States mutually committed to the defeat ISIS activities in northeast Syria. This will also include an agreement renewed today to coordinate efforts on detention facilities and internally displaced persons in formerly ISIS-controlled areas. Also, Turkey and the United States agreed on the priority of respecting vulnerable human life, human rights, and particularly the protection of religious and ethnic communities in the region. I spoke to President Trump just a few moments ago, and I know the President is very grateful for President Erdogan's willingness to step forward and to enact this ceasefire and to give an opportunity for a peaceful solution of this conflict that commenced 1 week ago. For my part, I'm grateful for the President's leadership. I'm grateful for the more than 5 hours of negotiations with President Erdogan and his team that arrived at a solution that we believe will save lives. And let me also say I'm very grateful for this team, to be able to have alongside the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, our National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, Ambassador Jim Jeffries, and Ambassador David Satterfield. It was a great privilege. And each of the members of this team contributed equally to achieving this outcome, which is a great contribution to security in this region, and it's a great contribution to the strong and enduring relationship between the United States of America and Turkey. Lastly, I want to express my appreciation to millions of Americans who I know were carrying this moment in prayer. We heard from people all over the country whose hearts were heavy with the loss of life in this conflict over the last week, longed to see it brought to an end. And I believe their prayers, the strong leadership that President Trump provided to this moment, and the cooperation with President Erdogan and Turkey has made this possible. So again, let me say, a week after Turkish forces crossed into Syria, Turkey and the United States of America have agreed to a ceasefire in Syria. It will be a pause in military operations for 120 hours while the United States facilitates the withdrawal of YPG from the affected areas in the safe zone. And once that is completed, Turkey has agreed to a permanent ceasefire, and the United States of America will work with Turkey, will work with nations around the world to ensure that peace and stability is the order of the day in this safe zone on the border between Syria and Turkey. With that, let me recognize Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your great work.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks. I think the Vice President said it well. I just wanted to add this thought. There obviously remains a great deal of work to do in the region. There's lots of challenges that remain, but this effort tonight sets the conditions for the successful resolution of this particular piece, which created enormous risk and a real risk of instability. And President Erdogan's decision tonight to work alongside President Trump to achieve this ends will be one that I think will benefit Turkey a great deal. Thanks. I know you want to take some questions.
Great. Humaira, where are you? Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. How will you overcome the damage that's been caused over the past week? There's been a lot of animosity between U.S. and Turkey. A lot of things have been said and a lot of threats of economic sanctions have been made. How are you going to repair the relationship going forward? Thank you.
Well, first, as you'll see from the agreement, part of our understanding is that with the implementation of the ceasefire, the United States will not impose any further sanctions on Turkey. And once a permanent ceasefire is in effect, the President has agreed to withdraw the economic sanctions that were imposed this last Monday. But make no mistake about it, President Trump was very clear with our ally, Turkey, about American opposition to Turkish military forces entering Syria. The President made that clear in his discussions and his correspondence with President Erdogan. And I believe that the candor and frankness that President Trump applied to this and the strength of his relationship with President Erdogan both contributed to the ability for this agreement to come about. And now we will work together to implement this agreement. As I said, our team is already working with YPG personnel in the safe zone for an orderly withdrawal outside the 20-mile mark, and we're going to go forward together to bring peace and security to this region. I'm very confident of that. Okay, Gonja Şenay. Gonja, please.
Thank you. Gonja Şenay from TRT World. There are reports by some international organizations on how YPG is treating ethnic and religious minorities in northern Syria. And Christian leaders in Turkey are making calls to the country to ensure peace and security in the region. I'm wondering your thoughts on this.
Well, let me let the Secretary also address that, but I can tell you that President Erdogan and I spoke at great length about the importance of protecting religious minorities in the region. President Erdogan also shared with me the perspective of many leaders in religious communities here in Turkey who had great concerns about violence and persecution taking place along the border. And so part of our agreement is to continue to work very closely to ensure that religious minorities can thrive and that religious pluralism is one of the characteristics of this safe zone for some time to come. Mr. Secretary.
Not only this, we've certainly heard from, the Vice President, I heard from Christian leaders around the world who expressed much of the same concern that you just described. We think this reduction in violence, this ceasefire, reduces the risk of that, so we think this greatly contributes to protecting religious minorities throughout Syria and throughout the broader Middle East as well. This all obviously happens in the context of lots of religious challenges, lots of challenges of religious persecution in Iraq and other places. Well, we think this is an important contribution in that regard. The other thing is that we talked about at some length is that to the extent there are abuses that are identified, we'll ask each leader, certainly President Erdogan and his team and others, to investigate any allegations of abuse that have taken place.
And let me maybe add an addendum to that. One of the things I know the President and the American people are most proud of is the investment of hundreds of millions of dollars to help rebuild a Christian, Yazidi, and other religious minority communities in the aftermath of the horrifying violence during the ISIS period, both in Syria and in northern Iraq. We'll continue to flow those resources to support those communities. But as you'll see from this agreement, it is a specific undertaking by Turkey and by the United States to ensure, to protect religious minorities in the affected region. Sean Tandon.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You mentioned that there's an organized withdrawal of the YPG fighters. Can you explain that a little bit more? You said there's been an agreement with them, where they're going to withdraw to, what do you see of the future of them? And while there are obviously concerns here in Turkey about the YPG and the links to the PKK, many in Washington say, for example, that they led part of the fight against the Islamic State group, against ISIS. What do you see for the future of northern Syria? Do you see any future for the Syrian Kurds politically there?
Well, our commitment with Turkey is that we will work with YPG members, and we also know as Syrian Defense Forces to facilitate an orderly withdrawal over the next 120 hours. And let me say that's literally already begun. And where they will be withdrawing from is the demarcation line, roughly 20 miles south of the border. Turkey's willingness to pause and to embrace a ceasefire of military operations to enable us to see to that orderly withdrawal of YPG will, we believe, make it possible for that to occur. And I know it's already underway as we speak. But look, Turkey's had a great concern about their border. And while the United States of America did not approve of their military crossing into Syria, we have always endorsed a safe zone. And it was a matter of discussion and negotiations. And we believe that the Kurdish population in Syria, with which we have a strong relationship, will continue to endure. The United States will always be grateful for our partnership with SDF in defeating ISIS, but we recognize the importance and the value of a safe zone to create a buffer between Syria proper and the Kurdish population and the Turkish border, and we're going to be working very closely. So we think the agreement today first ends the violence, which is what President Trump sent us here to do. I said it again and again to President Erdogan. President Trump sent us here to end the violence and to achieve an immediate ceasefire. Thanks to the agreement that we negotiated today and the strong stand that President Trump took in the preceding days, we've achieved that. We've also achieved an opportunity by working with YPG to move out of the area to create more peace and security and stability in that buffer zone. And we're going to be working very earnestly to accomplish that. We believe that can be accomplished during the 120-hour period, and after which there'll be a permanent ceasefire, and then we'll continue to engage. Again, not militarily. The President made it clear that we're not going to have military personnel on the ground, but the United States will continue to engage diplomatically, politically, and of course in humanitarian aid and support to affect all of the people affected in this region.
Last question.
Go ahead, Jose.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You mentioned that. Excuse me. You mentioned that the United States. You mentioned the United States opposed Turkey's incursion into northern Syria. But that Erdogan has always wanted a sort of safe zone here. What concessions did you actually get out of President Erdogan? Number one. Number two. Have you gotten specific assurances from the YPG that they will comply with the terms of this agreement? Because this is something that they have said that they would not do. And finally, with the Kurds moving south, and now with the U.S. sanction in terms of them moving south, how would you address critics who would call this potentially a second abandonment of the Kurds?
Well, I think you'll be able to see from the agreement itself what concessions were made. President Trump, in his telephone call with President Erdogan earlier this week, and in the directive that he gave us to deliver, was very clear that he wanted a ceasefire. He wanted to stop the violence. Turkey's engaged in an active military operation. I can tell you that as our discussions began over the course of the 5-hour period of time, we reached a place of agreement about how a ceasefire could benefit Turkey, achieve President Trump's objectives, and also contribute to a peaceful resolution of the safe zone. And I believe that we've accomplished that. With regard to the YPG, the Syrian Defense Forces, we have been in contact today, and we have received repeated assurances from them that they'll be moving out, that they greatly welcome the opportunity for a ceasefire, to make a safe and orderly withdrawal from those areas in the safe zone where they still have a presence. And we're very confident that that's already taking place, and we're going to be using all the leverage that we have of having fought alongside Syrian Defense Forces in the battle against ISIS to facilitate their safe withdrawal. But we think this is an outcome that will greatly serve the interests of the Kurdish population in Syria. It'll greatly serve the interest of Turkey, and it'll create the kind of long-term buffer zone that will ensure peace and stability in the region.
Mr. Vice President, just want to follow up on that question. What specific concessions did Turkey receive? Specifically, I want to ask you if they brought the issue up of the bank, Halkbank, rather.
Not in the context of these negotiations. I think when we had concluded the negotiations, the topic was raised, and we informed them that that was a matter for the Southern District of New York and the Justice Department. But let me say the concessions that the United States made have to do with the fact that the President had made it clear that if there had not been a ceasefire today, there would have been a new round of massive sanctions against Turkey. And you'll see in the agreement that on the basis of the pause of 120 hours, a ceasefire over the next 5 days, that we will not be implementing additional sanctions during that period of time. Once we have a permanent ceasefire, following the orderly withdrawal of all YPG forces, the United States also agreed to withdraw the sanctions that were imposed on several cabinet officials and several agencies earlier this week.
To be clear, though, just to nail this down, so it was simply the sanctions that would be removed. Nothing else was offered or given to the Turks.
Right.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you. One more question, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah, go ahead, Kate. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. While you were here negotiating with the Turks for several hours, both of you, can I finish real quick? Wait.
You're using the YPG as using the sanctions as a blackmail against your NATO ally for the sake of PKK YPG terrorist organization. This is a clear question, Mr. Vice President.
The United States of America did not support Turkey's military action in Syria. President Trump made that very clear to his friend President Erdogan. And the United States imposed sanctions earlier this week. And the President made it clear yesterday, and we made it clear again today, that there would be additional sanctions coming to bring an end to the violence, to the loss of innocent lives in this border conflict. That being said, let me say, I really believe today's ceasefire is a credit to President Trump and to President Erdogan. It's a credit to the strong relationship between the United States and Turkey. It's also a credit to the strong relationship between our two leaders. I mean, where there are differences between friends, it's important that the friends let their feelings be known. President Trump did that in this case. But it facilitated us being able to reach an agreement that has now resulted in a ceasefire, and we believe will set the stage for creating a peaceful and stable, a safe zone, and the United States is committed to achieving that for all the people of this region.
Mr. Vice President, can I finish my question that I started, please? That was the reason.
Agreed.